Is the theory of evolution settled science? Occupying Till He Comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries.
Welcome, friends. This is Dane Rome, your announcer for today's Last Days Beacon program. Thanks again for listening and joining us today. And just a reminder that these programs are supported by your gifts to this ministry. If you would like to contribute to this ongoing faith ministry, which deals with Bible prophecy and current events, simply go to our website to contribute. Our website address is www.swpm.us. You'll find a donate link on the homepage. The website address again is www.swpm.us. Thank you for your prayers and support for this faith ministry. On today's program, Dr. Snitker interviews Carol Rustin, author of the February 2019 Last Days Beacon article entitled, Questions Evolution Cannot Answer. In this interview, Carol reveals the surprising fact that many leading evolutionists do not actually believe the theory of evolution. You will be shocked as to why they continue to advocate a position that they don't even believe in. You'll even be more shocked to learn that the Bible predicted this almost 2,000 years ago. So, let's join Dr. Snitker and Carol Rustin as they discuss the questions evolution cannot answer.
Thank you, Dane. Welcome, friends. What a privilege to welcome you today in the name of our Lord as we continue the ministry of Southwest Prophecy Ministries. We have quite a privilege to have in our studio today Carol Rustin, who has authored many Last Days Beacon articles. In fact, she has recently completed her first book for our ministry. And what is the title of that book, Carol?
Understanding Israel and the Middle East.
That's correct. Understanding Israel and the Middle East. We've done several programs on that. And just a reminder to our listeners that book is still available in our bookstore at SWPM.us. And it's an excellent book. Everyone who reads the book is thrilled with it and is helped tremendously by the content of the book. Well, today we're going to shift gears and talk about the February Last Days Beacon article entitled Questions Evolution Cannot Answer. Well, Carol, it's great to have you in our studio today.
Well, it's great to be back. I'm always happy to be here.
Well, this is an excellent article, and this is a topic that we have not yet covered in our young ministry. We try to have a variety of topics that we think will be of benefit to our readers and our listeners. But this is our introductory article on the subject of evolution, and I think Carol has done a wonderful job with this and really dealing with the question or with the topic of questions evolution cannot answer. And of course, most of you know out there that in America, at least in so-called academic circles, that evolution is unquestionable. In fact, if you question evolution, there can be some very dire consequences to doing so, especially if you are in the field of science or academia. So we are going to actually ask questions that many in academics are not willing to even consider. So we'll start out with this question, and that is that there are skeptics of evolution. They're mostly unemployed, by the way, at least in the secular academic establishments. But skeptics of evolution point out problems with the theory of evolution. But evolutionists are never questioned about the failures of evolution or the failure of evolutionists to provide proof that evolution is true. And that's a long way of saying that whenever an evolutionist is queried about their theory, they're always tossed softball questions made designed to make them look good. But very rarely do they have to really face scrutiny, stringent scrutiny, particularly within the media. So Why is that true?
When you consider what has gone on in academia for about the last 50 to 70 years, in our culture and our society today, and the media today, I don't think that that's a hard question to answer. Most journalists are, number one, they're not conservatives. They're extremely liberal, and some of them are very, very hard left. And unfortunately, most journalists come from a background of, well, an unchristian background. They're not Christians. They come from a very anti-God bias. So, and most people in colleges, universities, even down to high school and elementary, most teachers and professors are not Christian. They're very, very, very left. There have been a lot of indoctrination within our public school system. So they come from a background of being very opposed to Bible, the Bible, the scriptures, God, and the creation account as given in the book of Genesis. So when evolutionists are on, for instance, a talk show, or when they're giving an interview, they're not questioned because the person who is doing the interviewing has a very anti-God bias, and they're not going to ask the tough questions of evolutionists because evolution has failed to provide any answers really for the evolutionary process. There's no real proof there, and you would think that by this time there would be hard proof. But evolutionists are never required to answer tough questions because we have a media and journalists who are very compliant with the pro-evolutionist point of view.
Mm-hmm. Well, what then are some of the questions that evolutionists have failed to answer satisfactorily, in which, of course, they generally are not even asked these hard questions? So what are some of those hard questions?
Well, in the article that I wrote, some of these I think are no-brainers and things that I've been thinking about for a long time. For instance, in order for evolution to have worked, male and female, human male and females, would have had to appear at the same place at the same time. Both fully formed, reproductive processes being fully formed, being able to produce other offspring, being able to know how to do that, and to know and be able to produce other human beings. Well, evolution has no answer for that.
And of course, that would have to be true of other species as well.
Yes.
Not just human, but any reproducing species, which they all have to be.
Right.
They would have all had to appear fully formed, functional, knowledgeable at the same moment in time in order for reproduction to take place.
Right. I mean, because evolution says that, you start from these very elementary life forms and you progress up and up and up and up and up. Well, if that's true, then all of these life forms had to appear at the same time. Male and females had to appear at the same time in each evolutionary form, at the same place, at the same time. And everything had to be fully working and to be able to produce other life forms, to be able to evolve into another life form. And that seems like a whole lot of coincidence that it would just have to happen exactly right. And that doesn't seem very reasonable or logical.
And of course, they always assume that there is no, quote, intelligent design behind this. So this basically has to be massive coincidences that take place massively for this to happen.
Yes, over millions and millions and millions and millions of years. And all these things all had to happen at the right place, at the right time. And it just doesn't seem logical or reasonable. So that's one thing. And then you talk about just the difference in people themselves. Just some people have blonde hair, some people have brunette hair, some people have green eyes, some people have blue eyes. Some people are short, some people are tall, some people are predisposed to be a little heavier, and some people are predisposed to be a little thinner, and
even within the same family.
Even within the same family. And that's true of my family. I had a mother who was very, very stocky and big boned, and I turned out to be this little petite little girl and tiny, and so you have massive differences within the same family. And even though I turned out to be very small boned and petite, that I had a sister who took on more of my mother's characteristics. This was in the same family. This happens in families all the time. Some people have freckles, some people don't. And then but evolution has no answer for how any of these things happened, how any of these occurred, how any of these things occurred over time. There's no answer for this. There's no answer for the great diversity just in skin color. And different races of all across the world. Evolution has absolutely no answer for that. They can't answer the difference in people's interests or the foods that they like. I have a brother-in-law who loves lemon. I have to make a lemon cake for him every year for his birthday. And I'm not necessarily against lemon. I like lemon. It's fine, but I like other stuff too. Some people are crazy about chocolate. Well, and some people hate broccoli. We had a president in the past that hated broccoli, but we have other people who think the vegetables are great. There are a wide variety of interests. Some people grow up to be politicians. Some people grow up to be doctors. Some people grow up to be great scientists or mathematicians. Some people want to have great proclivity towards music, playing the piano or singing.
And these diversities also occur, as you point out in your article, within the same family, within the same parentage.
Right.
You can have siblings who have vastly different proclivities and capabilities.
Yeah.
And how do you explain that as an evolutionist? They don't, do they?
They don't have any answer. For instance, I have two nieces. One has this gorgeous, beautiful voice, and she's a music major. So she's majoring in vocal performance. I have my other niece is probably going to go into international business. And now that's a wide range just between two sisters. Mm-hmm. So how do you explain that? Some people have. Now I couldn't throw a baseball or a football or swing a bat to save my life. But there are people out there who have great sports abilities. So how do you explain all of this? Mm-hmm. So people are very, very talented in lots of different ways. Again, evolution has no answer for the difference in diversity among people, the difference in their interests, but we all function together pretty much as a society without too many problems. Mm-hmm. And again, evolution has no answer for that either. But and not only that, but evolutionists are never asked these questions.
No, they're not. In fact, as I think about evolution, to me, it resembles a religion more than it does a science. You know, in religion, and often there are dogmas that cannot be questioned. They're absolute, tenets of the faith. And to question them would be heretical. Mm-hmm. And so it appears to me that evolution is in the same category. It's a religion with certain dogmatic positions, but these positions are not subject to scrutiny within the faithful. Mm-hmm. And of course, those who do question that are anathematized and like the Catholic Church, they're excommunicated. And that leads to my next question, Carol. Evolutionists always promote evolution as a fact, as settled science that anybody with half a brain is totally bought into. It's not presented as a theory of evolution. We don't hear that anymore. Oh, the theory of evolution. No, it's always evolution as a fact. Do these evolutionists ever express any doubts that evolution is true?
Well, you'd never hear it from the mainstream media. Whenever they're interviewed, whenever they're on television, they're always supremely confident that evolution is a fact. They never express any doubts about evolution in front of the mass, the mass public. However, you do have some, whether it's articles that they've written or books that they've written, in which they do express doubt that they have about evolution. Now, the majority of the public will never hear these doubts because they're not widely proclaimed, and they're kind of kept silently. And of course, this is for the advantage of the theory of evolution.
It's like they're whispering about it in the cloakroom, but when they come out before the public, there's total uniformity and total conviction about
right.
the dogma of evolution.
Yes, and I do have a few quotes here by some scientists. For instance, we'll take Dr. Colin Patterson. And he was a senior paleontologist at the British National History Museum. And he was writing a letter to a friend. And evidently he had written a book on evolution. And so he wrote this letter to his friend. Evidently his friend had written him a letter and said, talking about his book. And so Dr. Patterson was responding. And this was what he said in his letter. I fully agree with your comments on the lack of direct illustration of evolutionary transitions in my book. If I knew of any, fossil or living, I would certainly have included them. You suggest that an artist should be used to visualize such transformations, but where would he get the information from? I could not honestly provide it, and if I were to leave it to artistic license, would that not mislead the reader? You say that I should at least show a photo of the fossil from which each type of organism was derived. I will lay it on the line. There is not one such fossil for which one could make a watertight argument. And this was a quote from a letter by Dr. Colin Patterson that he wrote in
So Dr. Patterson is a closet heretic.
Yes.
He's admitting in this personal correspondence that he does not have the evidence to support his theory.
Right. So, and we'll go on. Dr. Stephen Gould, who was famous. Now, he's since passed away, and I think that's very sad that he passed away and died as somebody who did not believe in God and never made a personal profession of faith in Jesus Christ, and he remained an atheist until the day of his death. I think that's very sad. But he was world famous as a biologist and paleontologist. And this is what Dr. Gould says in an article that he wrote for Natural History back in May 1977. The article was entitled Evolution's Erratic Pace. And in this, and again, Dr. Gould, whenever he would be out in public, he would be staunchly pro-evolution. Oh, evolution was a fact, and
so the dogma was strong in him.
Oh, very, very strong. Because I remember seeing him on a talk show, And evolution, I have faith in evolution. You know, it was again, what you said previously, as a religious belief. But this is what he says in this article. The extreme rarity of transitional forms in the fossil record persists as the trade secret of paleontology. The evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks have data only at the tips and nodes of their branches. In any local area, a species does not arise gradually by the gradual transformation of its ancestors. It appears all at once and fully formed. And this, again, you would never have heard.
That sounds like Genesis 1 and 2.
Really?
All at once, fully formed.
Yes.
My goodness. He sounds like a creationist.
In this particular instance, and again, Dr. Gould would never have admitted it, something like this, to the mass public. He was always very pro-evolution. But this is what he admitted in this article. And this is, again,
so
something the public is...
they're secret skeptics, aren't they?
They really are.
But publicly, they are devout.
Right.
And totally assured that their dogma is absolute truth. Isn't that interesting? Well, we're going to pick up there next week. Friends, this is all we have time for today. But please join us next week as we continue to talk with Carol Rushton about her brand new article, Questions Evolution Cannot Answer. And now our announcer, Dane Rome, will share how you may obtain multiple copies of this informative new article.
Thank you, Dr. Schnitger. Today, we're offering an excellent article to accompany the series of messages. Our February 2019 Last Days Beacon article by staff writer Carol Rushton is entitled Questions Evolution Cannot Answer. In this article, Carol discusses several reasons why evolution is downright unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that even leading evolutionists don't believe it. You may order 5 copies for $5 or 25 copies for $15 contribution. Just go to our website, www.swpm.us, and go to our bookstore. Type in the title of the article, America is Forecast in Bible Prophecy, Part 3. The website address again is www.swpm.us. Well, please join us for next week's Last Days Beacon program, brought to you by Southwest Prophecy Ministries. And until then, this is your announcer, Dane Rome, saying thanks for listening.